How's it going, all? This is Luis. I wanted to give and have this opportunity to tell you a little bit about on what editing is and what redrawing is when it comes to manga and overall any web comics and things like that. Anybody that has ever read manga or has watched an anime knows that they're pretty fun. They're tons of fun and they're very entertaining when it comes to our whatever things we like, as to different genres and all the different stories and series that people have created. I'm a huge fan because I don't do well with reading, so I rather look at the picture and read something that kind of like a bubble text on the side. So I found manga to be an amazing way to entertain myself as well as actually learn English because I'm a Spanish speaker. So the best way for me to understand in English was for me to either learn or talk, and talk was really hard. As you can see, I have a pretty thick accent. So what I did is I found this manga, this comic books in the library back in high school. And what I did was I just went ahead and started reading them. One of the first ones that I read was actually Full Metal Alchemist, and I started reading them and reading them in English, and I found that if I didn't know a word, I could kind of like understand by the context. And well, anyways, I learned English that way, and I just loved it ever since. And fun fact though, the first manga I've ever read was Love Ina, which is the very first manga that I've ever read by Ken Nakamatsu. So it's I don't know. There's so many. That was my favorite, but Fullmetal Alchemist was the first English one that I read. So what is editing and redrawing? Editing, as it sounds, and you can kind of guess, is just edit an image. We get a raw image such as this that has been scanned by whomever, whether it be somebody public or a personal provider, scans the image, magazine, or volume, and you, as an editor, have the job to make this image look pretty as best as you can. And we go from looking an image all like this and kind of like grainy and noisy to look something like this, more blacks be blacks, whites be whites, a little bit sharp on the pattern but not too sharp because yeah, we wanna be able to enjoy the image, not just like look all contrasty and all horrible. And on top of that, the main thing is for us editors and redrawers to get rid of this Japanese text, because it happens a lot. You have a lot of series, and the mangakas, the what do you call it? The authors, right? They just put the text on top of the page, and that happens a ton. So what we do in those situations is we just get rid of the text that's kind of like in don't let us see the full picture, and then we put like a little English text right there so that it doesn't look too ugly. You probably have seen many scanlators that have just put it on top, or it just looks horrible. And I know this kind of going the extra mile, but us who are very passionate about this, we just love doing it, so we kind of do it. Tools to use, as you can see, I love using Photoshop. I learned how to do editing and redrawing with Photoshop, and I feel like it helped me a ton because not only I learned how to do editing, but I also was able to start editing pictures with like people and stuff. So if you get better at this, you can definitely start learning more about like editing pictures for photographers and things like that. It just depends on how passionate you are. There's another tool you can use, which is free, open source. It's GIMP, and I have used it before. I'm not a big fan of it because I learned how to do Photoshop, and I was trying to use GIMP, and I started using the shortcuts for Photoshop. It didn't work out so well for me. So you can do a lot of the things that are here in Photoshop just as well as in GIMP, but you'll see that there will be some limitations. Photoshop is just such an amazing, powerful tool. This is Photoshop CS5, by the way, if anybody is wondering. Anyways, I don't know. Not updates. Anyways, so I again, Photoshop is the best tool to use here, and I wanted to give you a little bit of tour on my workplace, on my layout. As you can see, you can create workplaces here, meaning that you save the settings that you've done, right? Whether it be shortcuts, whether it be navigation tools, or I mean the little panels, different panels, and everything that you want, you can save them here by just creating a new workspace or deleting an old one or whatever. I created my own because I use different tools specifically for manga, and there are some things that just works best for black and white. Navigation, self-explanatory, allows me to navigate from top to bottom, especially when I'm in a really big image and I'm trying to edit this pattern right here because this pattern has to match exactly like right here so that I don't know, redraw something. So this, like, okay, I go from here and then I start moving around and very slowly I can see if the pattern is kind of matching. So navigation tool is powerful, very good, very good. Layers. Layering is probably why Photoshop is so powerful because you're able to put things on top of something else. If I use the clone stamp tool and I want to put this pattern right here to delete these teeth, for example, I can create a new layer and I can very well clone that pattern and just put it right here. And I can remove this teeth and make it look as if it was never there. Of course, you gotta do a little bit more filtering so that you can make it look a little nicer. But that's pretty much what it does. It allows you to add something on top of something, a layer. And if by any chance you want to see how the original looks, you just hide the layer and boom, there you go, you see it. It's so cool. It's amazing. You're gonna use this a lot when it comes to redrawing because, like, for example, right here, you're gonna wanna be able to see the original and see if it's matching to what you're redrawing. So this will be perfect. And on top of that, you have all your basic tools right here, which is the clone stamp tool. Brush, whenever you want to do any blacks and whites, and you want to draw something. I usually like to do hardness 100 because if you do lower, um, the hardness will kind of like make it more, what do you call it, like less light on the edges, right? As if you were to use hardness 100, it'll be completely solid. I use this more for coloring and this one for black and white. It's just personal preference unless I'm doing something in a specific which I require this, but more on that later. Um, Other tools that I will definitely use a ton is the pen tool, and that is the most powerful tool ever for redrawing, I think. It allows you to create a path and make it into the shape that you need, because as you can see, this one has kind of like a little curve shape. So it allows me to just do this and then fill the path, and I have my image redrawn. Let me go ahead and add some blacks leveling here so that you can appreciate the tool better. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's just an amazing tool. It has such a powerful and endless capability. I like to use it this way. A lot of people don't really use it. They go with like tool brush. I personally recommend this because it's just amazing. Everybody that I've taught how to do redrawing and anything when it comes to Photoshop editing, I always tell them pen tool is your go-to tool. And the rest will be text and eraser, pretty self-explanatory. You do use the eraser tool to erase a part of the layer. If I have this, I can go ahead and erase. You have to select the layer, of course, and you erase this. What we use it for, let's say you want to show that part or something like that. Many different reasons to use it, as well as many others which we will be using more and speaking more about. And I guess one of the questions that you might ask yourself, why would you want to do or become an editor for manga? I did it because I love the series. I wanted to help out and I wanted to get the releases to be a little bit faster. And I just really love the series that I was working on. I worked in a lot of groups such as Red Hawk, Blackwing, and many different groups with different series, and they all taught me something. They all taught me different ways to clean, redraw, and I get to get a quick sneak peek at the chapter before anybody else. So that was always nice, and it just gave me a nice hobby to do while I was in high school, and it was just satisfactory to know that was me. I worked on that series since chapter one, and that was my work, and I put all my effort into it to make it, to give it to people. So it's really nice to have that accomplishment, right? But also, if you get better at Photoshop, you can get really good jobs at it. I mean, there is high demand for picture editing and specifically Photoshop editing. So, I mean, you can have some really fun times, and you can make a lot of money. Some escalators don't make any money. That's just the nature of the beast. But some of them do. And if you join one of those groups that actually pays the editors some money, good for you. But if you don't, I mean, again, this can be a really nice hobby, and you can make it into something bigger. And it's a good skill to have. Like if you ever need to edit some pictures for your family or something like that, you can go ahead and pull up your good old Photoshop tools and start editing whatever pictures you want. I been helping a friend that's a photographer, editing some pictures for some of her clients. I do it for fun. I tell her like, hey, don't worry about it. I just want to practice. I don't want to lose the skill. So she gives me some pictures. I help her, and we're both happy. To give you an idea, because this is kind of like a small redraw, you're gonna see pages like this. I was kind of like quickly working on this, and it's a raw image for a manga called Otomari Honey. It's really good. And redrawing, as you can see, there's this text on top of the image where it just blocks the view of it, right? So what I was doing is I was just doing a quick redraw, and I created a layer with the redraw right there, and I added some black lines so that I can cover some edges, and then I add some leveling. I did it really quick so it doesn't look perfect, but usually I would try to make it a little bit more nicer and perfect. But simply is removing the Japanese text from the image and putting and redrawing it as the name states. It's really fun, and it's really easy. It's not like this the easiest thing to do, but it's not impossible. If I learn it, anybody else can learn it. I will be trying to cover in the videos when it comes to redrawing what's noise, how we can get this pattern to look smoother. I don't know if you've seen. Um, let's go to a quick website. Mangastream. I mean, I don't think anybody doesn't know who Mangastream or what kind of series they do. But if you go to one of the Mangastream websites and you see the pattern, it looks super filtered. And what they're using right here is to pass noise. We are gonna work on some of that, and we're gonna learn how we can get this ending, this high quality, sharp lines finish. That way we can get some really high quality releases on either your group or whatever you're doing. And and the redrawing, because as you can see there was some Japanese text originally here, and they went ahead and redrew this. I'm gonna cover different techniques for redrawing, for cleaning, different tools that we can use, and I'll even post some of those tools in the link description as we use them. Well, to finish and conclude this video, this is my first video doing this. I hope that I can show you something that's worth your while, and if you've been able to stick through my whole rambling until the end, I thank you very much, and I hope you look forward to more of the videos that I'm gonna be putting up. And again, if you have any ideas, or if you want to see something in specific, or you want me to try redrawing something that's a little bit harder, I will do my best to do it, and I will definitely do it, and I can even post a video and everything, and like show some techniques, and I'll post the RAW, the PSD image, and everything so that people can access it and download it and use it. Well, thank you very much guys for everything, again, for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. You learned maybe something on what we redrawers in the escalation world go through. And if you can like the video, if you can subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. I will be trying to add and post more videos regularly. You guys have a good day. Adios.